there's a subtle feeling some people carry into adulthood, our sense that life became serious before it was supposed to. Psychology suggests that for certain individuals, childhood didn't unfold slowly or playfully, but moved quickly into awareness, responsibility, or emotional alertness. This doesn't always come from one obvious event. Often it develops quietly, through environments where being observant, mature, or self-reliant felt necessary. While other children were learning through play and carefree exploration, some were learning how to stay composed, how to notice shifts in mood, or how to adapt to expectations that felt larger than their age. This early shift can shape how a person relates to the world later on, creating an internal sense of being older on the inside than the calendar suggests. In everyday adult life, this may show up as feeling responsible even when no one asks, staying emotionally controlled in moments where others unravel, or feeling slightly out of sync with peers who seem more relaxed or spontaneous. Society often praises maturity without questioning its cost, overlooking how growing up too soon can quietly change how someone experiences safety, rest, and joy. Psychology suggests that this early acceleration isn't a flaw or a failure. It's a form of adaptation, a way the mind learns to navigate circumstances with the tools available at the time. Many people who lost parts of their childhood develop a heightened sensitivity to their surroundings, noticing emotional undercurrents and unspoken dynamics with remarkable clarity. They may also carry a strong inner voice that values responsibility and awareness, even when it becomes tiring. What's often misunderstood is that this pattern doesn't mean someone lacks playfulness or warmth. Those qualities may simply live beneath layers of vigilance and composure. Beneath the calm exterior, there is often a deep capacity for empathy, insight, and emotional intelligence shaped by experiences that required early understanding. This chapter isn't about labeling or diagnosing, it's about recognizing a shared pattern that many people quietly carry, one where childhood didn't disappear, but was compressed, reshaped, and internalized in ways that still echo through adult thoughts, relationships, and self-perception. What many people later describe as being too serious or too mature often wasn't a personality choice, but a pattern that formed quietly in response to early circumstances. Psychology suggests that when childhood moves too fast, the mind often adapts by prioritizing awareness, responsibility, and emotional self-control, even when play and ease would have been more natural. Society tends to admire maturity without asking when it arrived or why, sometimes misunderstanding this pattern as strength alone, rather than a form of early adjustment. For those who lost parts of childhood too soon, fun and spontaneity may have felt secondary to staying steady, helpful, or emotionally aware, not because joy was unwanted, but because stability felt more important. In adult life, this can show up as being dependable, composed under pressure, or emotionally insightful, while also feeling quietly disconnected from lighter moments that others seem to access more easily. Psychology suggests this isn't about being broken or emotionally closed off. It's about having learned early on that attention and responsibility mattered more than expression. Many people with this background become excellent listeners, problem solvers, or emotional anchors for others, often without realizing how much energy this requires. Social environments may sometimes feel slightly out of sync, too loud, too carefree, or oddly distant because their inner world developed around awareness rather than playfulness. This can lead to moments of self-questioning, wondering why relaxation doesn't come as easily or why seriousness feels automatic. Yet this seriousness is often misunderstood. It isn't a lack of depth or warmth, but a learned way of navigating uncertainty. Rather than seeing this pattern as something to fix, psychology suggests it can be reframed as an adaptive response, one that helped a young mind feel oriented, safe, or useful at the time. The challenge isn't that childhood was lost entirely, but that it was condensed, internalized, and carried forward in subtle ways. Understanding this reframing allows space for self-compassion, recognizing that early maturity was not a failure of innocence, but a quiet form of resilience that shaped how attention, Emotion and responsibility became intertwined. Psychology suggests that when someone loses parts of their childhood too early, certain patterns often develop, not as fixed traits, but as tendencies shaped by early adaptation. One common pattern is heightened emotional awareness. These individuals often learn to notice subtle changes in tone, mood, or atmosphere, becoming skilled at reading situations before words were spoken. Another pattern is an internal sense of responsibility that persists into adulthood. Even in situations where others feel free to relax, they may feel quietly accountable, as if it's their role to stay grounded or composed. A third tendency can be a preference for control and predictability. Routine, planning, and self-reliance can feel comforting because uncertainty once required extra vigilance. There's also often a deep reflective nature. These individuals tend to think inwardly, replay experiences, and search for meaning, having learned early that understanding was safer than spontaneity. In social settings, this can look like being thoughtful, observant, or slightly reserved, not because of disinterest, but because their mind is attuned to depth rather than surface-level interaction. Many also develop a strong capacity for empathy, sensing others' emotions easily, sometimes even before those emotions are openly expressed. Psychology suggests that this empathy often grows from early emotional exposure rather than from inherent sensitivity alone. At the same time, moments of playfulness or ease may feel unfamiliar, not because joy is absent, but because it wasn't prioritized during formative years. Importantly, these patterns are not guarantees or permanent states. They are learned orientations that once served a purpose. They can coexist with warmth, creativity, humor, and connection, even if those qualities emerge more quietly or selectively. What's often overlooked is how much inner strength it takes to carry awareness, responsibility, and reflection from such a young age. These tendencies don't signal damage or deficiency. They reflect a mind that adapted intelligently to its environment. Recognizing these patterns isn't about labeling oneself. It's about understanding how early experiences can shape attention, emotion, and engagement in subtle, lasting ways, allowing space for compassion rather than self-judgment. Losing parts of childhood too soon does not mean something went wrong inside you. Psychology suggests it often means something was required of you earlier than expected. You are not broken, emotionally distant, or lacking joy. You developed awareness, steadiness, and insight at a time when others were still learning through play. That early maturity can look like seriousness from the outside, but inside it often holds depth, empathy, and a strong moral compass shaped by experience rather than instruction. There is a quiet dignity in having learned how to navigate complexity early, even if it sometimes feels heavy or isolating. Many people with this background carry a layered inner world, where tenderness and strength coexist, even if softness learned to stay protected. In a fast, noisy culture that celebrates ease and spontaneity, this kind of inner depth can feel invisible. Yet it allows for thoughtful connection, emotional intelligence, and an ability to sit with life as it is. There's something quietly philosophical about realizing that not all growth follows the same timeline, and that early awareness doesn't erase the parts of you that still seek wonder. Curiosity and warmth, those qualities were not lost. They were simply postponed, folded inward, or expressed differently. Psychology suggests that understanding this can soften the way you see yourself, replacing self-criticism with perspective. Your seriousness was never a failure of childhood. It was a response to life asking more of you sooner. And within that response lives resilience, sensitivity, and a capacity for meaning that cannot be rushed or replicated. If this reflection feels familiar, take a moment to simply notice it, without judgment or pressure. Exploring these patterns can be a way of understanding yourself more fully, not fixing anything that's broken. And if you'd like to continue exploring the psychology behind personality, identity, and the quieter experiences many people carry, you're welcome to stay curious and explore more content like this at your own pace.